We as women are mothers, we're sisters, we're aunts, we're friends. We are significant others in many cases. And a lot of times we are tasked with making sure that everyone else around us is okay. Well, my friend, D.L. Hughley, sat down to talk to Dr. Milo Dodson to talk about how mental health affects the men in our lives and how that sometimes affects us, because we all know how it affects them sometimes affects us. Take a look.
This special presentation during Sister to Sister is courtesy of the Indiana Minority Health Coalition.
Today, we're going to focus on Black men's mental health and the unique mental health concerns public figures may experience. And today we have a very, very special guest, none other than good brother D.L. Hughley. D.L., it is great to be in conversation with you and just connecting.
Nice to meet you too, Doc. Nice to see you again.
Just be able to connect as two Black men, being able to have these conversations is so, so key. So I kind of want to start with a high level conversation around maybe the question of what's unique to the experience that Black men have around our mental health.
Well, I think that we are in the unique position of having our feelings and the way we approach them outlined for us by other people. Like, we're not supposed to have emotions. We're not even supposed to be human to some degree. So when that starts out as the baseline, it becomes very difficult to seek personal of kind of enlightenment about what you need for yourself, personally from a mental standpoint. And I think when it is defined as weak or when it is defined as something other than human, then I think it starts to be a difficult conversation to have with people, particularly people like I said, who are viewed by a lot of people as less than human.
Yeah, and the idea that somehow if we feel we've failed, right? Like if we have,
it was very interesting. I was reading like the greatest Black people that you ever know, the people who really ascended to astronomical heights, are people who were people could relate to. Like you'll always hear something about Magic Johnson's smile or their personality. But, so it is their level of approachability and their level of comedy and humanity that makes them accessible. But when you live in environments where that is seen as is something detrimental, then I think it's that much hard. And you really don't even see how it can affect you positively. Then it becomes something you just are unaware of and don't do. And so I think a lot of times the script, like I said earlier, the script has been written for us. And we kind of just we kind of dance to somebody else's beat as opposed to determining what's best for us and how our path forward.
So to be able to have that feeling of dancing to the beat of our own drum, in a sense, do you feel like there needs to be more of a shift from legitimizing mental health concerns in the same way that we view physical health? Because if I have like a cold or the flu, people, or even if I break a leg or an arm, people are going to be like, "Oh man, that brother needs some love and support." But so do we?
But even at that, man, I think when we hurt ourselves as boys, rub it off or rub some dirt on it, so I think even at a very physical level, we kind of are denied access to the way we feel about things. And so I think it really starts. It's got to, I think, start all over with the basic admission that we are human, and the things that hurt us, that hurt everybody else, hurt us, and that we're a little more, no more, no less. But I think things for us would shift demonstratively if society in general accepted that we were human, and if we did that ourselves.
And also in that humanity, there's what I'm hearing you talk about here is we're strong. It's a strength that we have to be able to express ourselves.
Sure,
right?
It is another aspect of strength, probably that we don't explore enough, but it's quintessentially strength. What is stronger than admitting your weaknesses? What is stronger than saying something you fear out loud?
So in that in that strength, we have the opportunity to really express ourselves and to be able to move forward in a way where if we're pushing through that challenge, that is a strength. That's not a weakness.
It's
And
yeah, you're right.
and I'm curious, brother. You know, we've seen you for years in the public eye, and as the socio-political landscape of the country has changed, not always for the better over the years, and mostly not for the better for Black folks. What's it like being you? I know that's a really broad question, but
Oh,
how
actually,
do
it's
you
pretty
man? How do
specific.
you?
It's pretty
What's
specific.
that?
I think that it is one thing that I try to do, and I've always tried to do, is to be exactly what I am at that moment. I think that I tend not to marry what I was or to yearn for what I'm not. I just try to be exactly who I am, and that's irrespective of what's going on around me. But I do think, and I am hopeful about some of the things I'm seeing, at least in the zeitgeist, like mental health in terms of the Black community would have never, we'd have just never had that conversation. But now we're seeing, like Naomi Osaka and Simone Biles and people who very publicly have said, I think that what we need is um, you got to remember that if Michael Jordan went to play baseball, he didn't say he needed a mental health break. He just went to do something else. But you can't tell me that there was something like he didn't say, as bad as he played baseball, you can't tell me that was what he left for. And I think we have to. I think now there's an opening, at least, outwardly, where we can start to broach the subject of what it is to be mentally healthy, as opposed to being. You can be, even a clock that don't work is right 2 times a day, and that equates to some level of success to people. Like, and so we need to be more fully formed, functional human beings. We need to access all parts. We need to fire on all cylinders. And it's clear that from a societal standpoint, that we're not hitting on all cylinders.
Have you felt that as you've started to expand your understanding of mental health, that's allowed for your like more professional growth or increasing comedy or gigs, or how's that helped you professionally?
I don't know that it's well for years. My family would access, therapists, and I was afraid to be fixed because I thought I was like, man, I don't want to, I don't want to take away from the thing that I thought was driving me. But I recently had experiences, just from seeing. Like I remember I had COVID. I passed out on stage. It was very public, and I was having long haul COVID, really symptoms really bad, and I would say they abated about maybe 8 weeks ago, where and it was so unmanageable. I started forming the idea in my head that I didn't want to be here. I'm like, man, if this keeps happening, I'm gonna punch my ticket. I remember saying that in an interview on the Breakfast Club, and my wife had heard that for the first time. Now I could talk to my oldest daughter about it because she's, my wife is a wonderful woman, but you say stuff like that, and all of a sudden I got counselors over her. So it was the act of hearing myself say it out loud to someone that let me know that what I was thinking, and being able, even though it wasn't professional help, but the notion of accepting where you are and understanding that you need to do something, or it could be very detrimental to you, was something I recently had to accept. And I started to have a more expansive view of what truly being mentally healthy. It doesn't mean functional. Like our parents from certain areas were functional alcoholics, or they functioned in abusive relationships, or they functioned in physically toxic environments. It doesn't mean it was working.
Sure. And it's not just about what I'm hearing. It's we're able to get by, but we want to be able to really thrive. We want to really be able to live in all of the beauty that is our humanity, and as Black folks,
Absolutely.
that inherent richness that we have of our culture and of our ancestors. And being able to voice our concerns allows us to live more fully and be, like you said earlier, be more of who we are.
And even from a societal, cultural aspect, our parents taught us how to survive, but never how to live.
Oh man,
we were never taught to live. We were always taught to just survive. So if that is your upbringing, then that is always the mold you're in. But we were always, survival was always the predicate. Never a full, rich life, just a life. Not a, never to live, just to survive. And that is not, a knock on them. That's not, I'm not making an assessment of. I think that they had came from circumstances that was kind of that was kind of the baseline. But
Sure.
I think now we are charged with a whole different kind of thing, and there are so many nuances to the way we'd like to live, and so many colors to the way we'd like to see things, that admitting it's almost like you have to be broken down to be built back up again.
Mm, mm. And even then, sometimes, as Dr. Angelou said, when we know better, we do better. And when we do better, we are better. So that we have this opportunity to really view mental health as a way to be better, to grow. And like you said earlier, not just get by, but to fully live in all of who we're meant to be.
I think that when you, and you're right, Doc, I think it's almost like people don't understand the impact that the environment has on us. Like, because that's such an esoteric thing to people. But the impact affects the way that we physically, like our breathing, our mental development, our hearts, our lungs, our brains. So it's just not a whimsical thing to talk about the environmental impact of things in our communities. So just like that it really has real life impact on how we function and live, and to what degree we can be healthy and strong. Much like that, mental health is along the same path, where we have to accept that needs to be in order for us to really start to become what we so desperately want to be, which is imagine being locked out and you can see everything you can't be a part of. And I think to a large degree, it feels a lot like, I can't really speak for everybody else, but it has felt like that to me in many aspects of my life.
Sure. And I think for me, for example, I know that a lot of times life feels out of control. So when we can focus on the things that we do have control over, that gives us the key to open that door to really thrive and to live life. And I'll be very, very honest. I've shared this before. Me as a psychologist going to therapy has made me a better psychologist. It's made me a better husband and a better friend. So it's not something that is only for if you're, hearing things or seeing things, or the more sensationalized concerns folks have on TV, but just to be our best selves. And there's so much beauty in that.
How could it not? If you wanted to be a great boxer, you would go to a boxer. If you wanted to be a great basketball player, you go to a great. If you want to be a great, what do you learn psychology from? From psychologists, right? So I think this is something that we have to accept, that no matter how fervently you believe in a higher power, you can't pray it away. What God gives you, if you believe, or whatever force you believe in gives you, is access to people and places and things that can give you the resources you need, or give you the edification you need. That it isn't almost like, it's almost funny when I hear, well, God put it on my heart. That's you telling yourself what God told you. Like, it ain't no voice in a burning bush. It's you deciding what that means. Like, every time somebody does something, God told me to do that. No, that's you listening to you. Now, you can call it whatever you want, but ultimately, when we say things like that, it is us speaking to ourselves, to whatever conduit we choose to ascribe it to. And really, and this was really interesting to me, because I've never been a part of men having conversations about Black men's mental health. Never. I've never even heard of it. It's just such a foreign concept to me. So I've never. This is groundbreaking, at least from my perspective.
And to be honest with you, I'm so incredibly honored to be having this discussion with you as two Black men in America, really talking about these topics and just being in this space with you.
Sure. Well, likewise, man. Likewise.
Yeah.
1906 today. I mean, even though that, I'm still honored to be here.
Listen, for all of my brothers out there, we're gonna say AFI.
Yeah.
I felt there was a little bit of a purple shade being
Yeah.
thrown out. So
A little bit.
yeah.
Just no. That's haze. That's just
The purple haze. Oh man. So yeah, some of that the purple haze that
yeah.
was
Indeed.
ever so gently being
Indeed.
tossed out there. So as we're thinking about this, where do you see these conversations moving in the future? Like, do we have more conversations, and obviously it not just stopping there, but how do we maybe put these steps into action to really have this be an everyday part of our lives and how we live it?
I think that people got to understand that it's real, that it exists. Like for so long, our story has started in the middle, that we never really were participants in it. But to be one of the interesting things about even the way we learn, like a lot of people can learn by writing and seeing. Black men tend to learn by hearing. Now, I don't know, and our educational system isn't based on that. It's based on writing and seeing, and we hear. So I think the more we hear it in the zeitgeist, the more Black people went to school by and large. There was a large migration of Black people going to school because they watched Bill Cosby and Different World. And 20 years later, you had this whole influx of people who saw and heard a thing and became it. I think that's just like a rudimentary example. But if people see us doing these things, then of course they'd be more apt to believe that they exist and that they too, like when you see something, I imagine you became a psychologist because you saw somebody or heard somebody.
So, it's so funny that you mentioned that, because to be perfectly honest with you, man, I had no idea what psychology was. I had no idea what even mental health was until I was well into high school. And I'm really glad we're talking about the importance of increasing representation in education, in the medical field, and in psychology, because check this stat out. So 0.87% of psychologists are Black men. 0.87%, not even a full one of us.
Right.
So I think for me, it's about increasing representation, having more of these conversations to allow the field to represent the clients that we're trying to bring in.
Absolutely.
It's
I never even thought about it that way, but they say that if we had more Black male teachers, it would stem the tide of the prison pipeline. So I imagine if we had more Black mental health care professionals, I'm not talking about, because I'm not going to go to a woman to talk to shit about, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go to, no knock against them, but there's some things that I need to talk to somebody who looks like me and who have had some of the same experience, not in an abstract kind of way, but in a real, tangible kind of way. If we understand that Black women do better during childbirth if they have Black healthcare professionals, right? That's just better. That's not me. There's empirical data that shows that Black women in the most precarious time of their life do better. The mortality rates are higher. The infant does better. They do better when they have. No, I don't. There's a reason for that, and I would imagine that they have mental health. I'm a healthcare professional who believe them. If they say I feel this way, so it would probably behoove us to have people from the mental health care aspect who believe us.
Yeah, and who we feel can resonate with our experience, right? So we know that the pain threshold, there's automatically this systemic oppression in medicine where Black women are assumed to have a higher pain threshold. So even we almost lost Serena Williams because of that, right? Yeah, and so as we're thinking about mental health treatment, we know that from the research, if people have a therapist who looks like them, they're less likely to drop out of treatment early. So we're allowing for that very process of healing to take place. And I think, again, it starts with having these conversations. It starts with public figures such as yourself, Black men really opening up. What's a way, or what are some ways where we can really chip away at this stigma, having conversations about mental health?
I think that it is a myriad, a multi-pronged approach. I think that there's not 100% of one way is 1%, 1% of 100 ways. I think that we do need to be open to have more conversations, but they need to be places that we can have them. There's a word that I never really hear ascribed. When we talk about, I don't even hear Black men say this, safe. I never hear them say safe. I never hear them talking about that being a predicate because it seems such a foreign concept. One of the things we do is have to make it safe for people to have a place to say the things that they need to say. So I think that there's a question of having people be safe. There's a question of having people be comfortable. There's a question of having people have a kinship and a relationship. And there's a question of people being able to relate to people that they're hearing and looking. There are, most of the men I know are broken up. So they're broken, but they're particular of like, have you ever noticed an artist who a deficiency, like a Freddie Mercury? He had long teeth and long back teeth, but it changed the tone of his voice and it made him. Most Black men I know who are successful have a thing that doesn't work in any other aspect of their life except the professional one. So they're broken up. We need to find, but they all have things with them. We need to find a place that's accessible, that's safe, and that's comfortable, and that's familiar.
And all those things, and the ongoing conversations, the place to really come from, knowing who we are, knowing that this expression helps us become more of who we are, and that we don't just have to survive or exist. Right. We can actually live the life that we want. So being able to go to therapy is an opportunity that we have, not something that we're forced to do. But if we're really wanting to be our full selves for ourselves and our loved ones, being able to go to therapy is such a beautiful opportunity for us. So as we close out, any final words, brother, that you want to send forth?
Well, it's funny. If you wanted to get in physical health, if you wanted to get in great shape, you could reach your target goal. The struggle is to stay there or to maintain it, the maintenance work. I don't think we in general have a problem going somewhere and hearing something for a while. It's the maintenance aspect that we need to, first off, going, but then realize that this is going to be a lifetime struggle. You could have cheat days in your mental health as you do, just like you do in your physical. But the idea is to stay with the ritual, stay with the routine, and start to really realize this has to be a part of your everyday maintenance.
Yeah. And the opportunity to get to that place of maintaining starts with having conversations. We're able to really connect in a way where we acknowledge that expression is a sign of strength, not weakness. To fail or to feel is not to fail. To feel is being successful. And then making sure that we're doing things for ourselves on a regular basis that help us feel good and help us be who we want to be. So, brother, I am so honored to have had this conversation with you, man. I can talk to you all day long, but I know we only have so long for this luncheon. So thank you for taking the time, and just want to send you lots of love in your healing journey as well.
Thank you, man. Likewise, Doc.
Thank you.